Hello and welcome to today's video about forwards. Now, the video that I did on goalkeepers, defenders and midfielders, I looked at top 3 budget and top 3 premiums, but forwards is going to be a little bit different. I'm just going to give you my top 10 forwards to start the season with, because I don't think there's anyone in the really low end of the forward area, and I'm not going to even recommend anyone in the high 9 million plus end of the forward. I think that sweet 6.5 to 8.5 million section of forwards is the best way to start the season. So let's have a look at the people who are not on the top 10 list, and let's have a look at the 10 players, the 10 forwards I suggest that you should start the season with for FPL 2021-2022. So for me, the forward position is just narrowed down to that 6.5 to 8.5 million category. I think with goalkeepers, defenders and midfielders, you've got a wide selection, a wide range of players to choose from. But when you're looking at forwards, there's no one under 6 million that you would even have as a good backup option. You've got Fabio Silva, you've got Pukki at 6 million, but everyone 5.5 million below is almost a waste of space. You might as well have 4.5 million bench fodder, who's never going to get any minutes. You could argue João Pedro or King for a few points if Origi gets a move. Maybe Davis or Obafemi at Southampton get a couple of minutes. But really, it's not a position for that low price that you would invest in. You might as well go 4.5 million or all the way up to a 7 million plus forward. For me, there's no mid-range. But if we go all the way to the top, and why I'm not going to suggest anyone in the higher price category. So first of all, Kane had a fantastic season last season. Of course, magnificent, most goals, most assists, what a season. But not starting the season with, even if he goes to Manchester City, I am not starting the season with Harry Kane. He looked exhausted at the Euros. I think most of us can agree he was definitely not top form at the Euros. So even if he goes to Manchester City, yeah, in the future, that might be a fantastic option. But he's not going to be ready for game week 1. He's also just missed training. He didn't go and show up at Spurs. So he's still not had training at Tottenham yet, even if he stays at Tottenham. I think he's already been ruled out of game week 1, which is against Manchester City. And I just think 12.5 million, which is Salah price. Bruno Fernandes is 0.5 million cheaper. I think as well, Kevin De Bruyne and the likes of that, they're all cheaper than him. I just cannot suggest 12.5 million for Harry Kane. If he goes to Manchester City, of course he's going to be an incredible option, but not to start the season with. We don't know if let's say today he moves to Manchester City, he's not going to be ready for game week 1. And we don't know how he's going to fit into Pep's system. Maybe Pep wants him to be that player that drops deep so his wingers can go in behind up front. We just don't know. So for 12.5 million, not starting the season with him. Jamie Vardy, year in, year out, he just quietens his critics because he keeps going. He's getting old now. He can't do it again. And year in, year out, he goes and gets the goals. Last year was a little bit quiet, so I'm really surprised his price has gone up yet again. But with Iheanacho finishing the season incredibly strongly, the signing of the likes of Daka, the return of Harvey Barnes, I don't think 10.5 million for Jamie Vardy is worth that money either. 10 million for Aubameyang. He was a midfielder last season and we wouldn't have bought him for 10 million, so I'm not going to buy him for 10 million as a forward. Timo Werner, 9 million. Oh yeah, he's got pace. He's got a nice pass. He gets in behind, but that finishing is woeful. And I don't even think he's nailed. It looks like Havertz is going to play down the middle. Maybe Werner gets in behind, but as a 9 million forward, not for me. Firmino, he's just always 9 million for Liverpool, but he's probably your 6th choice at Liverpool. You're going to go Trent, Robbo, Salah in front of Firmino at 9 million. Then you might even think of, a Salah Mane double up instead of Firmino. You probably think of Diogo Jota in front of Firmino, so not for me. 8.5 million Lacazette, 8.5 million Jesus as well. Just not players that interest me. Jesus has not had fantastic seasons. Harry Kane could be on his way to Man City as well, so minutes could be even fewer. Lacazette and Arsenal in general just have not done anything to impress me. So that gives us a lot of players inside that 6.5 to 8.5 million category. But here is, I think, some key omissions from this one. And the first one I'm going to say is Tony. I completely understand. I believe he is still the highest owned player forward. He is, sorry, the second highest owned player. 31.2% of FPL managers have put Tony in their side. And I do see where people are coming from. His stats last season were incredible in the championship. 31 goals, 10 assists in 45 games. It's amazing. But I've said this before so many times this preseason. I am starting the season with players that I know, players that I've seen, players that have done it in the Premier League, and he hasn't. I'm not against Brentford. I'm not against Tony. I am against promoted sides, and I am against promoted strikers. It's rare that you see a promoted striker with 31 goals come into the Premier League and get 31 goals. And I think if he's 6.5, I'd rather spend an extra 0.5 to 1 million more on a forward who has already got 10, 15 goals in the Premier League and looks to build on that rather than a first-time Premier League striker. So that might be one surprise omission from my top 10. I think that will be the key surprise omission. I don't think any of those in the top 10, because it's not going to be that many. I don't think people are going to be too surprised that I'm leaving out the likes of Joe Linton. Shea Adams doesn't make the cut. Mopay doesn't make the cut. Abraham could be on his way to Arsenal, but again, I've already said I'm not that keen on Arsenal. They don't have a particularly strong start to the season anyway. Rodrigo misses out on the top 10. He could be fighting for Bamford for that starting position at Leeds. Alex Saint-Maximin, he's now a forward, not a midfielder, so I'm not going to really go there. Ayew at Palace, these are players we're not really going to be looking at. So let's go into the top 10 players that I think we should start the season with. But there are a couple of things we need to look out for, like injury and the Olympics. So my number 10 choice is going to be Patrick Bamford. This might surprise a lot of people. They might have thought of putting him higher up on the list. He got 194 points last season. He got 17 goals and 11 assists, and 26 bonus points, which is pretty good for a forward. He's got a massive price rise. He started last season at 5.5 million. He's starting now at 8 million. There's still 17% of managers who still want to start the season with him. Not me. He starts at Manchester United. He's got Everton, then he's got Burnley, then he's got Liverpool. But for me, I've said this as well on other videos, that over the course of the 38 game season, Bamford's stats and his numbers are really impressive, but it was very lopsided. The ending of the season, it felt like he was getting subbed more. Maybe he was carrying an injury. I just think for 8 million, the start of the season for Leeds isn't that strong. He was getting subbed a lot towards the end of last season. And I think maybe Rodrigo, we're going to see more from him in that position instead of Bamford. So he goes in at number 10. I know he feels ignored. I just think that 8 million price tag and those fixtures are going to put a lot of people off. In at number 9, and I wish I could put him higher. I do love this man. It's Raul Jimenez. I think he's the 9th best option to start as your forward this season. Last season was 8.5 million. We can't really look at last season now. Only 43 points, but we know he had that horrible injury. Wolves have decent fixtures from game week 4. So if you're going to start with any other forward on this list or one of your own forwards, I do think if you're going for an early wildcard from game week 4, or you're looking to swap out your forward to another forward, Wolves have a good fixture run from game week 4 to pretty much game week 14, like a 10 game week run of decent fixtures. The reason why I wouldn't start the season with him is because he's been out for so long. I did say this with TED Talks FPL on the Fantasy Football Scout channel about, we know he's had this terrible fractured skull, and physically he should be fine, but mentally we're just going to have to wait and see. Competitive for pre-season, he's looking good. He's already back on the score sheet, but I need to see him in the Premier League. I need to see how is he going to cope getting back into Premier League football. But also starting away at Leicester, then they've got Spurs, then they've got Man United, and they've got a new manager, means that he would be my 9th choice to start the season with. Going on to my 8th choice, and that is Callum Wilson. And a reason why he possibly should be even lower on this list is he again has that injury worry with his hamstrings. Actually, speaking of injuries as well, you'll notice Danny Ings is not on this list. That is because of contract issues, but also injuries too. But Wilson, getting back to Wilson, 7.5 million, he's in that price range. Talented player in a Newcastle side that doesn't score a lot of goals. 12 goals and 6 assists in that Newcastle team with Steve Bruce. is genuinely impressive. Also, penalties, a lot of chances, a really good player, but I just cannot start the season with, I said, it might be boring, it might sound too templatey or whatever, but starting the season with players that I can have a little bit more trust in, Wilson isn't really that kind of player. He should be fine for the season. Bruce said he missed a preseason game, but if it was a Premier League game, he probably would have played. But it's putting that seed of doubt again. The last 15 games of the season, he missed 10 of them because of injury, and I just cannot start a season with a player with that injury record. So going on now to number 7. Now, number 7 and number 6, they have little stars, little asterisks, because I know people are going to shout at me straight away. And my number 7 choice is, without any jokes, guys, it's Wood. It's Chris Wood. 7 million. So obviously an incredible price. People are going to say, oh, he plays for Burnley. Oh, okay, I mean, it's a little bit disrespectful to Burnley. I mean, they've been an established Premier League side for a few years now. But they start the season at home to Brighton. Then they're away at Liverpool. But then they've got Leeds, Everton, Arsenal, Leicester, Norwich. It's a bit of a mixed bag. The reason why he's number 7 on this, and he probably should be higher up, if I'm perfectly honest, his consistency and his stats towards the back end of the last season were ridiculous. There's someone higher up on this list, and there's other people that you're going to be shouting, oh, this guy's better, this guy's better. But I know he's not an exciting pick. I know he's not this flair player. You're not going to see him take on 4 or 5 players and Rabona it into the back of the net. I get that. But we're looking for FPL points. Last season, he got 138 points. The seasons before, he's got 131, 136, and 138. And I think for 7 million as a forward, that is not too bad. But towards the back end, the last 8 games of the season, 8 to 10 games, 2nd for penalty area touches, 4th for assists, 2nd for goals. He got 7 towards the back end of the season because Burnley just, for some reason, changed their playing style. And they were genuinely impressive to watch. Maybe because they thought, oh, we're safe, so we can be a bit more excited. But if they start the season like that, definitely a team to watch. 3rd for goal attempts, 4th for shots in the box, 3rd for big chances, 3rd for headed attempt, 3rd for shots in the box. So he's between 2nd and 4th ranked player in all forwards for the last 10 games of last season. Now, I know you can't take I'm not going to say with a pinch of salt. It's still very important stats and key to look at when making your decisions to start this season with. But for a player that's worth 7 million, who has consistently got between 131 and 138 points, who finished last season so strongly, for me, this is not an eye test pick. This is like a pure stat pick, and that's why Chris Wood, I believe, deserves a place in this top 10 list. He's got a star next to name because of the Olympics. We don't know if he's going to be ready for game week 1, which brings me on to someone who I really wanted to start the season with, and I couldn't, and it's Richarlison. At Everton, I genuinely would have had him in my side for the start of the season if he hadn't have gone to the Olympics. He's done Copa America. He's gone straight to the Olympics, which, by the way, he's doing very well in. Obviously, I feel as though the Olympic quality of football is lower than Copa America, and it's a lot lower than the Premier League as well. But still, he's doing pretty well out there. I just would have started. Same points I've said about Bamford, 2 halves to the season. The second half of Richarlison's season was a lot better. 21 appearances, 5 goals, 1 assist. Doesn't scream fantastic, but I feel in a Rafa system, which I've talked about on other videos, the way that they'll use the wing backs, they'll use a number 9, which will be CalvertLewin, to flick it on to the forward in front of him, which would in this case be Richarlison. But also we saw it when Ancelotti changed their play style to accommodate more Richarlison and the wingers rather than Calvert-Lewin. We're not 100% sure what Rafa's going to do. Rafa's centre forwards actually do pretty well as well. Rondon got, I think it was 11 goals when he was at Newcastle in that centre forward position. And we know Calvert-Lewin, who is on this list, is very good in the air too. He's right up there with headed chances. I just feel as though Everton's fixtures are fantastic for the first 10 games. And I genuinely feel that if he wouldn't have gone to the Olympics, Richarlison would be higher up on this list. And he is my 6th pick. But we can't talk too much about him because he's not going to be ready for game week 1. I don't think, but we're not 100% sure. Next up, and again, similar to what I said about Chris Woods, but this one does pass the eye test, and it is Iheanacho. This one might surprise a few people. You might think he deserves to be higher up on this list, and I do understand what people are saying. 7.5 million at Leicester. The second half of his season, he was phenomenal. The last 10 games, most goals, he got 9. First for final third touches, first for take-ons, and first for most successful take-ons. Second for goal attempts, 5th for shots in the box, 4th for big chances, 1st for shots on target. That is exactly what you want to see from any forward of any price, let alone a 7.5 million player. Here is where I've mentioned before that here is why he's not higher up on the list, and we just don't know what formation Leicester are going to end up doing or who's going to end up playing. Now, people might say, look, Iheanacho has obviously earned his name on that first 11 team sheet, but we just don't know. Now, when Barnes, who is now back, when Barnes was there, Leicester played a 4-2-3-1 formation. Where's Iheanacho going to be? Is he going to be the one? Well, that kind of formation doesn't necessarily cater to his abilities or what he was doing in the second half of last season. Now, when the Harvey Barnes wasn't on the pitch, Leicester played a 3-4-1-2, with Vardy being more of a provider for Iheanacho on that great run of form. What formation are they going to play? We just don't know. They've brought in Daka, who has an incredible history inside the Austrian Bundesliga. He got 27 goals, 7 assists in 28 appearances. Similar to what I said about Tony, we cannot compare the Austrian Bundesliga, the English Championship, to the English Premier League. We can look at it, but you've got to kind of deduct some of those stats, right? Who are we going to start with? Are they going to start with 1 up front, 2 up front, maybe even 3 up front? Are they going to have a false 9? Are they going to have an advanced forward? Honestly, even with pre-season, with things mixing around, we just don't know. Even if they play a 4-2-3-1 and Iheanacho is that number 1 as the forward, I don't know if that's the formation that suits him. I don't know if him as the only forward is the best way to go. Jamie Vardy as that 1 has been fantastic. Is Iheanacho going to be the same? So for me, stat-wise, eye test back end of last season. If Leicester start with a 3-4-1-2, great. Iheanacho's probably a top 3 pick for forwards. Unfortunately, I've already said before, as boring as it sounds, I want to start with what I know, what I believe, and I just don't believe he is going to be the one to... I mean, yeah, it might start, but it just might not be in the formation or the position that Iheanacho is best suited to. So as we go up now into the top 5, we're now in position number 4. I'm going to go for Cavani. Now, this might surprise people because I've just said Iheanacho, we just don't know. I do believe Cavani is the first choice down the middle centre forward for Manchester United, especially now Rashford is out. I don't think Martial's going to be... I think there'll be rotation, don't get me wrong. The points I've made on other videos, yes, rotation and age is going to be an issue for a lot of people. But I've argued before that from the bench, Cavani is almost just as deadly. He's a clinical striker. He's got 16 goals in 38 appearances in all competitions last season. And 18 of those 38 appearances came from the bench. So even if you've got this player, he'll come on if United need a goal. And 18 out of 38 times is when he actually came off the bench in those appearances and got goals. So a goal every 108 minutes, which isn't too bad. And the signings that Manchester United are making as well makes Cavani even better. So first, defensively looking more solid, which hopefully will give the attack more permission to be a bit more creative, maybe a bit more flair. But the key signing, and I mentioned in my midfield video, is Sancho. I said in that video that he pulls defenders in and he makes a lot of space for other players. So I think the addition of Sancho makes Cavani and Bruno Fernandes even better options. And of course, for Cavani, he's just got years and years of experience. You know, he's got... last season was his 12th season when he reached over double figures in a league campaign. He's had 5 20-goal plus seasons and he's had 1 30-goal plus season. I think 30-goal plus, that's gone. Yes, he's going to get rotated out, but I think to start the season with, before we have other competitions like the Champions League and before we have things like FA Cup, Carabao Cup, things like that, I don't think he'll get rotated as much now before your first wildcard. So I think for a fourth position in a improving Manchester United side with the addition of Sancho and Varane and maybe even more, I do think that Cavani at 8.5 is a fantastic price, and he's got a Premier League season under his belt already, and he's $1 million cheaper than Sancho. Going into the top three now, and I know I've said about I've said about injuries before, so this might surprise people why he's going to be in here. I'm going to say Antonio, and I'm going to cross my fingers that he's going to stay fit. 7.5 million at West Ham. He is a popular FPL pick. Last season, 10 goals, 5 assists. Season before, 10 goals and 4 assists. Overall seasons, 118 points, 111 points, 118 points. Isn't great, but here's the thing. We know he's got injury problems. We know he's got hamstring problems. But when he plays, he's so important to West Ham, and he's so explosive that to start the season with him and have him with good fixtures makes Antonio a really, really good choice. And he's looking incredibly sharp during pre-season. He's scored the goals against Celtic as well. They start the season Newcastle, Leicester, Palace, Southampton in the first 4. So if you're looking for a really early wild card, and just hope that, maybe later on in the season, he'll start to get those injury worries. He should really start the season fit. My only issue would be if West Ham go out there and get a massive, marquee, huge striker signing, that might jeopardize Antonio in a way. But if they don't go out there and get that massive signing, he's probably going to lead the line for West Ham, who could emulate what they did last year. We just don't know. But I just think to start the season with Antonio is not a bad choice. He's so important to West Ham, and he does look good. He gets a little bit tired towards the end of the games. He does have injury worries, but if there's a player I think in this list that you should take a risk on, not Ings and not Wilson, if you're worried about injuries, I would take the risk for Antonio. Going up to my number 2 choice, and that is Watkins. Now, we know Grealish could be going to Manchester City. It is looking very likely. And honestly, I think if Grealish goes to Manchester City, I think Watkins becomes probably not as good in this list, as he probably drops down to, say, 5th or 6th. I've said this so many times on the channel in this preseason. The first 3 fixtures are excellent for Aston Villa. We cannot ignore that they start the season, I think it's Watford away, Newcastle home, Brentford at home. That is a strong start to the season. I am going to say it's Grealish dependent. For me personally, Watkins is incredibly close to getting into my starting 11. If Grealish is still there, he's even closer. Stat-wise, fantastic. First for penalty area touches, second for assists, second for final third touches. People get frustrated with him because he misses a lot of chances. He likes to hit the crossbar at the post quite often. Grealish would have had a lot more points if Watkins would have finished those chances. But 14 goals, 9 assists, 168 points. Yes, he's got a 1.5 million price rise, but 7.5 million for those 3 fixtures, I think is good to start with. Also with Aston Villa, you've got the addition of Buendia. They're looking to sign the likes of James Ward-Prowse. So if they can keep hold of Grealish and add quality like Buendia and James Ward-Prowse, and I think Watkins, first season Premier League, he's getting used to it. He did still back 14 goals. I think he's one of those players that is going to keep getting better. I think he's going to improve and maybe become more clinical. But to start the season with those 3 fixtures in a Villa side that did pretty well last season, they're making really good signings. Leon Bailey, I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, because if both of them play, I think it's going to be fantastic for Watkins. But I don't know if it's going to be Watkins against Bailey to start for Villa. So obviously we're going to have to wait for these transfers to go through. But for game week 1, even if Bailey signed today, I'm not too sure they're going to start game week 1 with him. I think Watkins is going to be the one that is ready, but we're just going to have to wait for Grealish for that. But even, I think if Grealish isn't there, Watkins should stay as a really great option. And speaking of great options, I'm going to have to say my number 1 choice is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I said I genuinely would have possibly gone for an Everton double up in attack. 8 million for DCL, 7.5 million for Richarlison. Last season for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you've got 16 goals, 6 assists, 165 points. He really did save me at the start of last season, but I've said I'm not using emotions to make my decisions. I'm just using stats and eye test, no heart, no, oh, he helped me so much at the start of last season. If it wasn't for him, who knows where I would be? No, he's a fantastic option. Proven goal scorer now, 16 goals. I think being part of the England side would have given him a confidence boost to show that he is deservingly in that England squad and being considered as one of England's top strikers. Yes, he's 0.5 more expensive than Richarlison, who I don't think is going to start the season. I've said earlier about Rafa's system. He likes to use the centre forward as an outlet, but in a not very good 2018-19 Newcastle squad, Rondon still gets 11 goals. I think this Everton squad is a lot better than that Newcastle squad was. And if you've got deliveries from the likes of Luke Dean onto Dominic Calvert-Lewin's head, who, by the way, I believe had the most headed attempts. So he's aerially good. We know he's good. We know he's a good poacher as well. So if he drops back and he's going for headers, he's a good option. If they're going to get him in the box as well to be a poacher, he's a good option too. But I've said before as well, the first sort of 8 to 10 fixtures for Everton are excellent. So if you're looking to wildcard in the first 10 game weeks, but you want to start the season with a solid striker who's got a great season under his belt in a decent side with really great fixtures, I just think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the best forward option to start the Premier League season with. And there you have it. Thanks for watching today's video, guys. If you liked it, maybe leave a like and subscribe just down there. I'll put up here as well my top 3 budget and premium picks for the midfield position. Make sure you guys check that out. And coming soon will be my FPL updated draft. I have not changed from the draft that I currently have in like 2 or 3 weeks. I still have a 5-3-2 formation, and I'm going to be explaining why I think that is a really solid way to start the season with. So thanks for watching, guys, and as always, have a good one.